Hey, what's up, everyone? It is Tuesday here in Star, Idaho, early in the morning here, but I wanted to knock this thing out because I wanted to make sure that I brought you something of value and hope that I can reach a few people here this morning. With all the stuff going on in the world today, it's kind of tough to stay focused and do the things that you want to do because, you got COVID, you've got these riots, you've got all this stuff that's going on that kind of knocks you off that positive path. And I feel like we've just kind of stopped what's going on around us and we can't focus on us, lately I've been feeling like it's kind of tough because we are sitting here worrying about all this other stuff and we can't focus on ourselves, but there is a lot of stuff going on. But the big thing about it, the big picture is that we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves first. And don't let the media get to you. Don't let it sow this negativity. That is one of the big things that happen. So anyway, for me, I wanted to talk a little bit today about kind of my mission and what's going on and where this is at. If you haven't listened to me before, if this is the first time getting on my podcast or watching this video on IG or wherever you're finding me, because I am on all social media platforms, I post it everywhere. A little bit of background about me, because this is kind of the 1-year anniversary of this kind of change that I've been going through for myself to make myself better, for the betterment of myself and my family and all those things is, I'm doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it for, the positive changes for me, but I'm bringing this so that I can kind of document, how I got where I was at. And so, again, I'm just going to give you a little background because I did this. I've done 26 total episodes, about 22 with guests. And I started doing these solo episodes a couple weeks ago. And so anyway, the big thing is with me is I started out in high school. I was an athlete and I ended up getting a scholarship to go play football at Southern Oregon University. And decided that I didn't want to go to school there. I didn't like the town. I didn't like the people. It was too far away from home. I thought I was a better player than what I was. There's all kinds of reasons why I didn't want to go there and go play football. But it led to a bunch of other things, a lot of changes in my life and a lot of things that brought me to where I am today. And so I ended up going and staying with my grandparents down in California for a little while in the summer, met someone who, tomorrow, June 10th, because today is June 9th, tomorrow, June 10th, we will have married for 20 years. So I'm 39. We got married when I'm 19, and we've been married for 20 years now. We have one great kid who is 6, and she is just so fun, such a bundle of of craziness and joy and happiness and sweetness and those things. So anyway, I ended up doing that, and I thought in my life for a long time that happiness and success was based on money and all the value, all the things that you had, right? I had this American dream. That's what it was. I'm going to go do this and that, and I'm going to make a lot of money, and I'm going to have all the things that I want. Well, I couldn't make money by going to college. I was going to college. I wasn't doing very good. I couldn't make money right away by doing that. So I went and I worked at this tire company called Les Schwab. And for those of you who don't know, it's in the Northwest, big company. It's gone through a lot of changes. Well, it went through a lot of changes when I was there. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was this team aspect, that I've always been on a team. I was a football player, I was a baseball player, I was a basketball player, I was playing sports all the time. And that was what I wanted to do. So I enjoyed working with this team. And that's how that company was. That was kind of the thing that molded me into who I was. But I never really liked the job. I never was really happy. I never really had it wasn't what I wanted, and you can take a look at me and you can judge a book by a cover. Here I am sitting with a polo shirt. I do have a hat on right now and I have all this stuff, but I don't seem like the type of person who is a manual labor person, right? But I did it. I was changing tires. I was installing lift kits. I was doing brake jobs. I was doing all that automotive stuff. And I did that for 11 years. I didn't like it very much, but I saw that I was making money. I had the things that I wanted. I was able to purchase things. And in my mind, that was what was making me happy. But as you drug on, as it went on and on and on, I realized that I wanted more. There was a lot more to it than that. And that I wanted to make a change. I wanted to make a difference. And Originally, when I went to college, the first thing that I did was I was going to be an athletic trainer and I was going to be a PE teacher because I knew that those were the things that would get me where I wanted to go. I would be around athletes. I would be able to make that difference, because those are the people who made changes or differences in my life. I had a couple football coaches, baseball coaches that were in my life those whole 4 years when I was in high school that drove me and pushed me and taught me the things that I need: being on time, being, being a team player, relying on other people and helping other people to be successful through what we were doing. There's a lot more to it, but that's just kind of the gist of it. I love that team aspect. And so anyway, it didn't work out. It didn't, I wasn't ready. And so here I am on this 11-year thing, and I hurt my knee pretty bad. I had 2 surgeries on it. I had a third one. I was 30, maybe 30, 31, 32, and they're telling me, hey, you can keep doing this job or you can get your knee replaced. And for those of you who had knee problems, you get your knee replaced, and they last about 10 to 15 years. So at 30, I'd probably have 3 or 4 replacements by the time that I died, which that's no way to live. They get worse every single time that you have one replaced. And so I had this other surgery where it would basically prolong that, but there was no way that I could be running around on concrete and do the job that was asked of me at Les Schwab. So it was kind of a way out. It was nice because I realized, hey, I need to go back to college. I still want to do that. I still want to make that change in people's lives. And so, I went to go back to college, and I did it. I graduated in 4 years with like a 3.9 GPA. I was a better student than I ever was before, but the difference was that I knew I was paying for it. I knew that it was something that I wanted, and I worked a lot harder for it. And I got that degree. And so it was crazy. I got it, and summer was coming through. I hadn't gotten a job yet to teach. And I ended up thinking, what am I going to do? But my last year of school, I got this job coaching baseball. And so I was excited because I got to coach baseball. I was a football player. I was an okay baseball player, but I wanted to coach. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make this change in these people's lives by helping them and motivating them to do the same things that I did that made me successful, and share my stuff with them, share my coachability, share my thought process in those things. And so I got hired in Marsing a week before the school started, before the school year. And I went over and I taught middle school PE, and it was tough. It was hard because I am a very structured person, and the guy that was in there before was not. And so if you're a teacher and you're listening to this, you understand what I'm talking about. But you go into a classroom where PE was one of those things where a long time ago it was just roll out the ball and let the kids do whatever they want. Well, that's not how I was taught. That's not how I taught. And so anyway, the first year was a struggle. It was tough. They asked me to help coach football for the varsity team, which had a pretty unsuccessful record for the last couple of years. And we did not win one game the year that I coached. And then the next year, I ended up helping with the middle school instead, but they didn't win again. And so it was tough. It was hard for those kids. It was hard for the coaches. It was hard for all the things that was going on, because you're trying to help these kids be successful, and they don't have a lot of faith in their abilities because they hadn't won a game. But I also got the head coaching job for the baseball team, which was something that I was really proud about, for the varsity team in the high school, because they're all next to each other. And I got to do that. And so I finished out that first year. We had a pretty good record. The next year, I had grown the team, and it was just kind of one of those things that it's contagious when you have this vibe. And I'd grown this team. I'm looking at both the pictures, I had 20 kids out when the year before I had like 11. So I was at the cusp of having, a JV team when all they had was one team. So that was awesome. But then, I always wanted to teach at a high school. And so I ended up going to a different school, and I was working at the high school, and I took a position in teaching something other than PE, which was not what I was trained to do. Right. And all this whole time while I'm doing this, I'm working on getting my master's degree. So 4 years of teaching. It took 4 years, got my degree, my bachelor's degree. And then the other 4 years I was working on getting my master's. And there just was something missing. It was missing. And it had been for a while. And so anyway, I went back and forth. I taught that 1 year teaching out of class, and then they opened up a PE position, and I was able to teach PE out of high school, which was what I wanted to do. I also became the head baseball coach for the freshman team, which was, again, it put me in a position of being a manager. But the thing is you always have someone pressing on you. You always have someone who's in charge. You don't have the ability to do your own thing. And that was the tough part for me, is I wanted to be in control of myself. So there's always that doubt. There's always those things that bother you. And my whole life, I've been this person who is a negative person, and who is, I call it negative because I always thought of the glass as, half empty, because when something good happened, I was excited. And when something bad happened, I always felt like, well, I won't be that disappointed, because I always expected something bad to happen. It's no way to live life. And so I get halfway through that year, and I was just like, you know what, I'm done with this. And I met a friend that when I worked at Les Schwab, he had been a teacher as well, and he had gone into working for Blind Appeal, which is where I work now. And I started to realize that there's things that you can control as a person. There's things that you can be in charge of. And I didn't have to necessarily be a teacher to make a difference in someone's life. And that's where this whole thing started. That's where all this has gone. I got out of my comfort zone, and I started posting videos, because I thought, hey, if I do that, then I'm going to get more business in the blind business. But I was thinking about what everyone else was doing, and what could I do to make these things better for myself. And it was a tough part. It wasn't really me needing to do more. It was me needing to accept the fact that I have the ability to do anything that I want. And that's where it all began. That's where the difference changed, where I started to realize that I can only control myself. I can only control who I am. I can't control anyone else. I can have these values, these morals, and all this code and all those things, but I can't do that for someone else. I can't make them want to do this. I can't make them follow mine. They have to be willing to do it. And so it was interesting, because instead of having all these parents telling me, hey, you're not doing enough, it's your fault my kid failed, there's all these reasons why they're allowing their kid to do the things that they're doing, I was able to decide for myself that, hey, I want to do this on my own. I want to make a difference, and I'm going to make that difference by myself. I'm going to make that difference with people who can't tell me that, your ability to make a difference is based on a grade in someone's book, And so that was a hard decision. But after I had left Les Schwab, which was the toughest decision that I ever made in my life, I didn't have that big of a problem leaving teaching. And yes, I did spend, 8 years, and I got a bunch of student loans, and I have those degrees. But the whole part of this thing, the whole story of this thing, is about happiness. And so that's why I started this podcast. I started thinking about success and how we deem that. And I had someone tell me one time that they were going to be way more successful than me when I grew up. And they were basing that on the fact that they were going to make a lot of money and have nice cars and blah, blah, blah. Well, to me, success isn't that. But what I want to do is I want to bring you that value. I want you to see what success is for every single individual. And that's what the podcast is about. That's what all these guests that I have on are about. They're about how they have success. And I've had some great guests. If you haven't checked out the podcast, you should. At this point, you should go back and re-listen to some of those episodes and see how far it's came, because it's gotten better and better through time. But, success is something that is created by you. It's your definition. It's what you are, whether that be, my last guest talked about how reaching every little small individual goal to reach the big goal. No matter what that is, you can be successful as a mom. You can be successful as a lawyer. You can be successful as a blind salesman. You can be successful as a teacher, coach, whatever. It's not that you can't be successful. It's that everything that is defined by you is what success is. And so you shouldn't listen to what other people tell you is success. You should decide what that is for yourself. And that's really what it's about. So where's it going? I want to make a difference in your life, right? And so it doesn't matter if you didn't get value out of this episode or that episode. If I can get one person to get a little bit of value out of each episode that I do, then I'm making a difference. And it's a pay it forward type of deal, right? So it's exciting that each person has a different definition of success and what it is. But what you'll find when you listen to these episodes is there's this common theme, this common core thing, that it's doing the best. John Wooden talked about being the best at whatever it is, no matter what, knowing that you gave everything that you had, putting it all out on the table. And that's really what it's about. So if you want to be a pro baseball player, be the best pro baseball player that you can be the best you that you can be, control you, because that's what you control, yourself. So I want you to think about that today and think about how what you're doing, whatever it is, if it's what you want, then be the best at that. If it's not, you need to go out there and you need to go work on that. And this whole thing with me doing this podcast is, my goal is to be a top podcaster, right? And I'm not going to stop until I am. So I'm going to continue doing the things that I do. I've got a lot of help along the way, me doing the things that I do got me noticed, got people wanting to help me, wanting to sponsor my show, wanting to do the Facebook Live show, wanting to do the Instagram Live show. And that's covered at me at no cost. And I'm grateful for that because, it's on PBN, which is a big network. Aggressive Marketing Solutions sponsors me. These are people who post the show and it's going live everywhere else in addition to on the podcast. So I wouldn't have got that without doing the things that I'm doing, pushing myself, getting outside of the box, posting on social media and all those things. So if you have this goal that you want to do, just know that no matter what people say, no matter what happens, you can only control yourself. Control how hard you work, control how hard you put yourself out there. That's what you can control. So anyway, that's kind of what I got today. I wanted to talk a little bit about too as well that we have, if you watch or listen, you know that I'm a big San Francisco Giants fan. I've been trying to get Hunter Pence on here for quite a while, and it just seems like it'll happen at some point. But when you talk to people, you need to think about those people and think about how you never know who you're talking to. And I had one customer the other day, or last year actually. It's been a while. It's been 9 months since I talked to him, and he contacted me back the other day, and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we're talking a little bit, and he's a baseball guy. Well, I started talking to him a little bit about the podcast, and it was awesome because he introduced me to a couple people. And on Thursday, I get to talk to a Giants baseball player. I'm going to interview a Giants baseball player, and I'll announce that a little bit later this week on Instagram and everywhere else. But Thursday at 6 Mountain Standard Time, which is 7, or what do we say? It's 7 Mountain Standard Time, 6 Pacific. We're going to be down in talking to someone who is in the Giants organization. So I'm really excited about that. I'll set the times up there. It's a little, time zones always confuse me. So, but anyway, it's exciting to go with what's going on here. It's exciting to see this thing grow and for it to get better. And, it's only going to get better. I'm also going to talk to another MLB baseball player as well, towards the end of the month, which is going to be an exciting one too. So anyway, to reach your dreams, you got to remember that you can control what you can control. So be the best you. Don't worry about the outside stuff. Don't let that bother you. Go for it. Go after it, no matter what it is. Find out what the end goal is that you want, and then just reach those little goals one by one. One of the things, like I said, is always, I want to get Hunter Pence on here, right? So that goal is a goal, but to get there, I'm going to have to prove to him that it's worth it for him to come on here. And so this little interview, or whatever it's going to be with a Giant guy, with one of the Giants, is a stepping stone for getting on there. And I'm very excited because this guy has been through a lot. He's been through many teams. He's been in the minors. He's been in the MLB for, 10 years, and he's always pushed through no matter what. His end goal is he wants to be a big leaguer, right? He wants to be there all the time. He wants a starting job. He wants to contribute. He wants all those things, but he's not going to do it by just hanging out. So if you're just hanging out and you have a goal, get after it today. Re-engineer that thing and be the best you can. I hope that you have a great day. I can't wait for you guys to hear the interview on Thursday. Have an awesome day.